30,000 feet above the Atlantic Ocean. Mark thought he was a god. Untouchable. Above the law, and certainly above the 500 pensioners he just bankrupted. But in my world, gravity always wins. He expected a confirmation code from the Cayman Islands. Instead, he got a death sentence for his wallet. Transaction denied, federal seizure, assets frozen, $10 million gone. In a single second. My name is Sarah. I'm not a cop. I'm not a lawyer. I'm a forensic accountant. For 6 months, Mark thought he was ghosting the system, hiding cash in shell companies from Delaware to Zurich. He thought complex math would save him, but he made one fatal calculation error. Me. Today, I'm going to show you how I tracked his digital footprint, exposed his offshore trust, and used the International Banking Act to freeze his life. This isn't just revenge. This is liquidation. It started with a seduction, not of the heart, but of the wallet. Guaranteed 20% returns. In a market that barely gave 5, Mark wasn't just a CEO, he was a preacher of prosperity, selling real estate investment trusts to people who feared being left behind. But if you looked closely at the prospectus, the real estate didn't exist. It was a ghost town sold as a gold mine. Inside his office, it was a classic boiler room operation. Cold calling grandmothers, pressuring veterans. Mr. Henderson, this is a limited opportunity regarding your 401k. They called it aggressive growth strategy. The law calls it a Ponzi scheme. Money from new victims, paying the dividends of the old ones. Until the new money stopped coming in. That's when the liquidity crisis emails started. Investors panicked. They demanded withdrawals. But Mark was already 3 moves ahead. He didn't flee. He hired a top-tier bankruptcy attorney. They filed for Chapter 7 liquidation before the first lawsuit hit. This triggered an automatic stay, freezing all lawsuits. It was a legal force field. 500 victims were told to get in line as unsecured creditors, which is lawyer speak for, you get nothing. Mr. Henderson didn't just lose an investment. He lost his wife's life insurance money. The bank started foreclosure proceedings on his home of 40 years. He was eating canned beans by candlelight to save electricity, while Mark was posting photos from a yacht in the Mediterranean. The justice system said, wait for the trustee. But hunger doesn't wait. Desperation doesn't wait. The victims formed a group, a recovery committee. They scraped together $5,000. It wasn't enough for a big law firm. Big firms wanted a $50,000 retainer just to read the file. Then someone mentioned my name. The auditor who doesn't sleep. I met them on a Tuesday night. The air smelled of stale coffee and fear. Mr. Henderson pushed the box of documents towards me. It's all gone, isn't it? He asked, voice cracking. I opened the box. It was a mess. Unaudited ledgers, fake invoices, but then I saw something. A routing number. Mark had wiped the U.S. accounts clean, but he made a payment to a consulting firm in Cyprus 3 days before the bankruptcy. That wasn't a business expense. That was a test run. I looked at Mr. Henderson. The money isn't gone, I said. It's just hiding, and I know exactly how to flush it out. I didn't take a retainer. I took a contingency fee. If I don't recover the funds, I don't eat. That night, my office became a war room. I needed to pierce the corporate veil and prove that Mark and the company were the same legal entity. The hunt was on. Mark wasn't just hiding money, he was laundering it. The technique is called layering, creating distance between the crime and the cash. Layer 1, the shell company. He registered Blue Sky Consulting in Delaware. The CEO, a nominee director. Just a name on a paper to hide the real owner. Layer 2, the digital wash. He moved the funds into crypto, Bitcoin, then Monero, using a mixer to scramble the transaction history.
It's designed to be untraceable, a digital black hole. Layer 3, the fortress, the Cook Islands. This jurisdiction has the strongest asset protection trusts in the world. Even the US government struggles to touch money there. Most forensic accountants would quit. They'd say it's gone, But I noticed something, a change in Mark's behavior. Criminals don't steal money to look at it. They steal to spend it. And Mark fell in love with a French chateau. 8 million euros, cash deal, closing in 48 hours. Here is the catch, the flaw in his perfect plan. To buy property in France, he needs to convert crypto back to fiat currency. And to move US dollars internationally, you have to use the SWIFT system. Here is the secret banks don't tell you. US dollars never actually leave the United States.
They simply move from one ledger to another in New York City. This is called correspondent banking. It was the choke point, the only place I could touch him. I didn't need to sue him in the Cook Islands. I'd lose. I didn't need to sue him in France. Too slow. I just needed to camp out. In New York. Digitally. I prepared a subpoena for the correspondent bank, but I couldn't serve it yet. I had to wait for the money to move. It's like hunting a deer. You don't shoot when you see it. You shoot when it steps into the clearing. Mark initiated the transfer on a Friday. Standard tactic. He thought bank compliance teams go home for the weekend. He was right about them. But he was wrong about me. The SWIFT message hit the network. Wire transfer $8 million. Origin Cook Islands. Destination France. A transit point, New York City. Gotcha. I had a 15-minute window before the money cleared. I needed a judge's signature, and it was 3:45 p.m. on a Friday. Most judges were already at the golf course, except one, Judge Hawkins, the Iceman. He hated financial fraud more than he liked golf. I burst into his chambers, drenched, breathless. "You have 3 minutes, Ms. Sarah," he said without looking up. I didn't give him a speech. I gave him the forensic audit and a photo of Mr. Henderson eating beans by candlelight. Silence. The clock ticked. 3:58 p.m., 2 minutes left. He picked up his pen. 3:59 p.m. The gavel hit the wood. Order granted. 2 words that carry the weight of federal law. I didn't say thank you. There was no time. I scanned it directly from the clerk's office.
Destination, the compliance officer at the correspondent bank in NYC, 4 p.m. exactly. I hit enter. At that exact second, Mark's money arrived in New York, $8 million trying to cross the border to France. But the injunction got there first. The bank's AML algorithm triggered a red flag. The money hit a brick wall. Back on the jet, Mark was pouring another drink. He expected a transfer complete notification. Instead, the pilot stepped out of the cockpit.
"Mr. Mark, I'm sorry. Air traffic control just revoked our flight plan." "What? Why?" Mark demanded. Then his phone buzzed. Not a bank alert, a news alert. "Breaking! Horizon Wealth assets frozen by federal court." His face turned the color of ash. He tried to check his offshore account. Access denied. A contact administrator. This is what financial violence looks like. No blood, no bruises, just total paralysis. Then came the domino effect. The French realtor called. "The deal is off, monsieur." His corporate Amex declined. Even the jet fuel truck drove away. Mark was trapped in a metal tube with no fuel and $0. I didn't stop there. I called the receiver. A court-appointed receiver takes control of everything. They changed the locks on his penthouse. They seized his Ferrari collection. Every asset he bought with stolen money was now property of the victim's trust fund. Mark sat on the tarmac for 3 hours, waiting. He wasn't waiting for takeoff. He was waiting for the inevitable. At 7 p.m., the flashing lights surrounded the jet. Not local police, the FBI Financial Crimes Division. The door opened. The stairs lowered. Mark walked down. He didn't look like a CEO anymore. He looked like what he always was. A fraud. They didn't put him in a luxury car. They put him in the back of a standard government sedan. As they drove away, I finally closed my laptop. The hunt was over. The cleanup was just beginning. The arrest was just the opening bell. The real war was the discovery phase. Mark lawyered up. A dream team of defense attorneys. They offered a deal. 5 years in minimum security for the location of the crypto keys. They thought they held the leverage. They thought the Bitcoin was gone. But they forgot I wasn't just an accountant. I was a treasure hunter. We raided his penthouse again, not looking for paper, looking for metal, behind a Picasso. We found a safe, and inside, not cash, but a cold storage device. Mark had etched the seed phrase onto a steel plate. Indestructible, but not undiscoverable. With that key, we accessed the blockchain. The leverage was gone. The plea deal was off the table. Now we went for the throat. RICO charges. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Mark refused to look at the victims, but he had to hear them. Mr. Henderson took the stand. He didn't cry. He looked Mark in the eye and said, "You stole my past, but you won't steal my future." The jury deliberated for less than an hour. Guilty on all 24 counts of wire fraud and money laundering. Judge Hawkins didn't hold back. "You treated people like numbers. Now you become one." Sentence: 150 years. Federal prison. No parole. Mark collapsed. The arrogance finally evaporated. But justice isn't just about punishment. It's about restitution. The liquidation process began. We sold everything. The Gulfstream jet, sold to a cargo company. The Ferrari, auctioned for parts. Every dollar went into a victim compensation fund. 6 months later, the checks went out. It wasn't 100%. Lawyers and fees took a cut, but it was 95%. Enough to restart a life. He sent me a card. "You saved my life." I kept that card. It's worth more than my commission. As for Mark, he traded his penthouse for a 6x8 cell. His net worth is now 5 packs of ramen noodles. In prison, there is no Chapter 11, no bailout, just time, and compounding interest on his regrets. Financial predators rely on one thing: your silence. They bank on you being too ashamed to admit you were scammed. But shame is not a currency. Action is. If you see something, if the returns look too good to be true, dig deeper, check the audit, follow the money, or call someone like me. I'm Sarah, and the hunt never ends. Don't be a victim, be a hunter.